So the Los Angeles Rams might already be in trouble, as we found out today their franchise quarterback's dealing with an injury that is definitely worse than we initially thought. Well, in today's video, I'll break that situation down and explain why this could impact their season. Then I've got to talk about another quarterback unexpectedly breaking a bone in his hand, a defensive back getting into a car wreck, the NFL striking a huge deal with Disney, and so much more right after. Alright, first up, we got an update today on Matthew Stafford's back issue that's kept him out of all of training camp, and it does have some people concerned about his long-term status for this season. Again, he hasn't practiced all training camp with a bit of a back injury, and McVay and the team have continued to downplay the severity of it to the media, but this latest report has me and a lot of others concerned, and here's why. Earlier this morning, Ian Rappaport shared that Matthew Stafford is dealing with an aggravated disc in his back, and he recently received an epidural to help him deal with it. In case you're unfamiliar, an epidural is an injection near the spinal cord, either of medicine or steroids to help numb pain or manage chronic inflammation. Dr. Jesse Morris of Injury Experts called this a huge red flag, as an epidural helps manage pain, yes, but it doesn't solve the problem of stabilizing the back and re-strengthening the ligaments, so it's really just a temporary fix more than anything, seemingly to help manage his pain levels. And maybe this does get him ready for week 1. Rappaport did say that the team is still confident he'll be ready to start the season, but what about week 10? Week 15, after he gets lit up a dozen, 2-3 dozen times? Will his body be able to hold up over the course of the season? It's certainly not ideal to be heading into the season already dealing with what could be a serious, potentially serious back injury at 37 years old. Thankfully for the Rams, they do have a pretty competent backup in Jimmy G, old Jimmy Garoppolo, who can step in and give them some decent production. He has a 43-21 record in games that he started over his 11-year career, just in case you were wondering, although a lot of those wins did come with some very good 49ers teams. Either way, Stafford's availability both in the short term and long term will be something to keep our eyes on. That's for sure. Stafford is one that has been through a lot in his career, a lot of injuries. I don't think this keeps him out, to be honest with you, but just something to monitor. Another quarterback dealing with injury is Steelers rookie Will Howard. During practice yesterday, Will reportedly banged his throwing hand, which resulted in him fracturing a small bone in that hand. Mike Tomlin actually said he believed it happened during a QB center exchange. How does that happen? No idea, but at this point it's believed, thankfully, he will not require surgery, though he is looking at roughly a 3-week recovery period before he can return. The bad news there, that means he's going to miss all of preseason, and Howard has been the clear QB3 on the roster behind Old Man Rodgers and Mason Rudolph, though Skylar Thompson, a guy who's made a few spot starts in his 3-year career, is right behind him as QB4 on the depth chart. I don't think this impacts Will's chances of making the roster or anything like that. And the fact that he was listed as QB3 ahead of the 28-year-old Thompson on the initial unofficial depth chart should tell you all you need to know. And again, the biggest bummer here is that he's going to miss all of preseason, which is valuable reps typically for a rookie quarterback. So he won't be out there for any of preseason, but somebody who will be out there and playing in all 3 of them, in theory, is Titans quarterback Cam Ward. Actually, most of the Titans starters will be out there, not just for the first game, not just the second, but all 3 of them. That's what head coach Brian Callahan told the media today at least, which did come as a bit of a surprise, though I'm sure most of them will just play a series or 2 in each game, and then the second and third stringers will come in after that. Not a lot of teams opt to play starters in every exhibition game, but a week ago, Cam Ward did say that the offense was very mid, so I guess they need all the practice they can get. And he said this in a very respectful way. I'm actually very excited personally for Cam Ward this season, and I think he's being slept on. Now, somebody who has not been practicing at all lately is Micah Parsons, as he's been holding in, waiting for a new deal to get done with the Cowboys, or a trade, which he did request last week via his own social media account. Jerry Jones dismissed that, though, saying it's simply part of the negotiations and that Cowboys fans shouldn't lose sleep over it. Well, the two sides have had no communication since that trade request last Friday, and there's really no updates on that front. But Jerry did speak with the media yesterday, and he doesn't seem to be backing down on his end, which comes as no real surprise. And his answer to whether or not he's confident Micah will be playing week 1 in Philly probably didn't put Cowboys fans at ease.
Any confidence that he will be on the field against Philadelphia?
Again, no, absolutely not. A big part of that is his decision.
How would I know that?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like anything is close to getting done soon. Jerry also expressed his frustration in thinking that he had a deal in place with Micah, but then being told to finalize the details with the agent. Apparently, Jerry still thinks it's 1989 because he started talking about how he bought the Cowboys with a handshake, and it took 30 seconds. Well, Jerry, welcome to the 21st century, my friend. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be an immediate end in sight to these negotiations, though of course that can all change on a moment's notice because at the end of the day, money talks, and even though they are paying some players a lot of money on the roster already, CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, among others, it would be a pretty awful idea to get rid of one of the best pass rushers in all of football that is still in his prime. But if I had to put money on it, I do think a long-term deal with Micah does get done. I don't think he gets traded. It just sucks that it had to get to this point, and it's not the first time this has happened with Jerry Jones and one of his players. Next up, Panthers cornerback Jaycee Horn avoided disaster after he was reportedly involved in a car accident on his way to practice this morning. Horn was ruled out of practice today, so initially some were a little bit worried that he may have sustained some injuries, and upon being evaluated by the medical team, it isn't believed to be anything significant, although there is a bit of an injury going on. Dave Canales said after practice that JC received a few stitches in his left thumb area, but they got it all cleaned up, and he's day-to-day at the moment. He'll be out for Friday's preseason game against the Browns, but that's all we really know right now. And to end things on a high note, JC was actually out there during practice today, not participating, but just observing, and he appeared to be in good spirits, keeping that left hand in his pocket, though. He even posted on X saying that he's all good and it was nothing major. So all things considered, that's great news for the 25-year-old who just inked a 4-year, $100 million deal this offseason. Honestly, JC was not the only guy around the league to get a little scuffed up today. It wasn't a player that happened in this situation, but a former player and the current head coach of the New England Patriots, and Mike Vrabel. That's right. He reportedly got in the middle of a fight at the Patriots and Commanders joint practice today, and he did not come out unscathed. Here's the gist of what happened. Travion Henderson picked up a blitzing Commanders defender, blocking him and taking him to the ground violently. The two of them started scrapping, and Mike Vrabel tried jumping in to break it up. Will Campbell then saw what was going down, and he dove on a defender, which caused a scrum to break out between both teams. And in the midst of all that, Vrabel apparently took some kind of shot, or got scraped at least for sure in some capacity, because he was bleeding from his face afterwards. I think whatever happened with Vrabel, it was just him getting caught in the crossfire. I mean, he jumped in the middle of players who were in pads and they were fighting. So tempers were flaring. Vrabel's a madman for jumping into the middle of that. I'm not going to lie to you. My respect for him rose even higher. And honestly, it was kind of funny after the fact, knowing that he's all good, but not nearly as humorous as Falcons head coach Raheem Morris getting bodied by Drake London when he was trying to cover him on this route yesterday. But let's keep it moving because we got some pretty big news from Adam Schefter last night regarding Disney, ESPN, and the future of NFL Network. Per Shefty, ESPN and the NFL have announced a non-binding agreement stating that ESPN will acquire NFL Network and some other media assets that are owned and controlled by the league. That's including NFL Fantasy and the Redzone channel, which I'll touch on more in a second here. But on top of those media assets, the league will also license some NFL content for use by ESPN, which is a part of a second non-binding agreement between the two parties. It's kind of confusing, but NFL Network will be operated by ESPN, while Redzone will be operated by the NFL, though ESPN will be in charge of distributing both products. The NFL is going to maintain ownership of other things like NFL Films, NFL Plus, and the official websites for all 32 teams. When it comes to ESPN acquiring Redzone, there's two questions on a lot of people's minds. Number one, will Scott Hanson continue to be the host? And number two, will it still be commercial free? Well, Mr. Scott Hanson himself gave us the answer to the first question, confirming that he will indeed still be hosting Redzone. As far as the commercials, though, NFL Network already tried experimenting with ads last season, and fans were not too thrilled about it. I don't know why that would change now, especially considering Disney and ESPN running the ship, but hey, I could be wrong here. Nothing has been confirmed either way on that front. I just think people are trying to connect the dots and assuming more than anything, and I'm in the same boat of the assumption. Also, if you're curious how much Disney is paying the NFL for this deal, it's actually going to be in exchange for a 10% stake in ESPN, and while neither party disclosed what the current value of ESPN is, the Wall Street Journal reported that it's likely somewhere between 25 and 30 billion, which means the NFL's stake is around $2.5 2.5 to $3 billion. Holy smokes, this is crazy. The last thing worth noting here, though, is that this isn't yet officially done, even though it's been kind of made to seem that way. It looks like NFL owners or their representatives will meet via video conference for a non-voting meeting at the end of August, whatever that means, and the deal should close late in the year of 2026, so roughly a year from now, just in time, in theory, for the 2026 NFL season next year. But hey, let me know your thoughts on the media giant that is ESPN, owned by Disney, and what you think of this deal between them and the NFL getting a 10% ownership stake in ESPN. Do you think there's going to be a conflict of interest there? I don't know. Let me know what you think. Do you think the product will be worse, or are you more optimistic about the entire thing? Let me know either way in the comments down below. And with that, I'll see y'all next time.